Before Lucifer became Satan, before hell had a king, before demons filled the darkness, Lucifer was the brightest angel heaven had ever known. In the earliest days of creation, heaven was a place of perfect harmony. Endless fields of light stretched across the sky, and the voices of angels echoed like music through eternity. Every angel had a purpose. Some guided the stars across the universe. Some guarded the gates of heaven. Some carried messages across creation. But Lucifer was different. Lucifer was the morning star. His wings shone brighter than any other angels. His voice carried power and beauty that could move the entire host of heaven. When Lucifer walked through the halls of heaven, angels turned to watch him. Not because they were commanded to, but because they admired him. He was the most magnificent being ever created by God. Lucifer led the heavenly choirs. When he sang, the universe itself seemed to vibrate with harmony. Stars were born while his voice echoed across creation. Even the other archangels respected him. Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, all of them knew Lucifer's greatness. For ages, Lucifer fulfilled his purpose with joy. He walked freely through the gardens of heaven. He spoke with the angels. He observed the creation of galaxies and worlds. But slowly, something began to change. Lucifer started asking questions. Questions no angel had ever asked before. Why must angels serve forever? Why must all power belong only to the throne? Why were angels created so powerful, yet never allowed to rule? At first, these thoughts were small, barely noticeable, like whispers in the wind. But over time they grew stronger. Because Lucifer was not just powerful, he was intelligent. And curiosity can be dangerous when mixed with pride. One day Lucifer stood at the edge of heaven, looking out across the endless universe. Beside him stood another angel. "Look at creation," Lucifer said quietly. The angel nodded. "It is magnificent." Lucifer's eyes burned with ambition. "And yet we rule none of it." The angel frowned. "That is not our purpose." Lucifer turned toward him. Maybe it should be. The idea was dangerous, but it had already taken root inside Lucifer's heart. And once pride grows inside an angel, it rarely disappears. Over time, Lucifer began speaking with other angels. At first, the conversations were quiet, private, just questions, just ideas. But many angels listened, because Lucifer was not just persuasive. He was inspiring. "You were created powerful," Lucifer told them. "You move between stars. You command light itself. And yet you kneel forever." Some angels began to wonder if he was right. But not every angel listened. One angel in particular watched Lucifer carefully. Michael, the guardian of heaven. Michael understood something many angels did not. Lucifer's questions were no longer curiosity. They were rebellion. One day Michael confronted him. "You are gathering followers," Michael said. Lucifer smiled calmly. "I am sharing ideas. You are planting rebellion." Lucifer's eyes glowed slightly. "Maybe heaven needs to change." Michael's voice became firm. "Heaven is perfect." Lucifer laughed softly. "Nothing is perfect forever." The distance between them grew. Lucifer had chosen his path, and soon, there would be no turning back. But the moment that would change everything had not yet arrived. Because before Lucifer fell from heaven, he would speak words that would shock all creation. After his conversation with Michael, Lucifer no longer kept his thoughts hidden. The quiet whispers were no longer enough. The idea of rebellion had grown too strong. Lucifer believed heaven needed to change, and he believed he was the one destined to change it. Across heaven, angels began gathering in the great halls where Lucifer spoke. At first it was only a few, curious listeners. But over time the gatherings grew larger. Hundreds of angels began to listen, then thousands. Because when Lucifer spoke, his voice carried a power few could resist. Lucifer stood on a high terrace overlooking the endless sky of heaven. The stars of creation glowed beyond the golden clouds. Angels filled the space around him, waiting, listening, watching. Lucifer spread his wings. The light from them illuminated the entire gathering. "Angels of heaven," he began. The crowd fell silent instantly. "For ages we have served the throne. For ages we have followed the same order. For ages we have watched the universe grow." His voice grew stronger. "But we have never ruled it." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Many angels had never thought about this before. Lucifer continued. "We are powerful. We travel between galaxies. We command light. And yet we kneel forever." One angel stepped forward. "The throne commands it." Lucifer nodded slowly. "Yes. But who commands the throne?" The question shocked the crowd. No angel had ever spoken such a thought before. Lucifer raised his hand toward the stars. "Look at creation. Worlds beyond counting. Civilizations rising and falling. All of it shaped by power." His voice lowered. "And we possess that power." Another angel spoke nervously. "You are questioning heaven." Lucifer smiled slightly. "No, I am questioning limits. Lucifer walked slowly across the terrace. You were created magnificent, strong, radiant, and yet you are told to remain servants forever. His eyes burned with ambition. Does that seem right to you? Some angels stepped back in fear. Others stepped closer, because Lucifer's words stirred something deep inside them. Pride, curiosity, ambition. Lucifer pointed toward the throne of heaven. The universe deserves leaders. His voice thundered across the sky. Leaders who understand its power. Leaders who are not afraid to shape it. The angels looked at him carefully, because they understood what he was saying. Lucifer was not simply questioning heaven. He was offering an alternative. And who would lead us? One angel finally asked. Lucifer did not hesitate. I will. The declaration echoed across heaven. Some angels gasped. Some turned away in fear. But many remained standing, listening, considering. Lucifer's voice softened. I do not ask you to betray heaven. I ask you to build something greater. His wings stretched wide. A new kingdom. A new order. A new heaven. Slowly, one angel stepped forward. Then another. Then another. They knelt before Lucifer. One by one. Thousands of angels. Nearly a third of heaven's host. Far away, Michael watched the gathering. His expression remained calm. But inside he understood the truth. The rebellion had begun. Lucifer looked across the kneeling angels. His army had formed. And soon, the entire universe would hear his final declaration. Because the words Lucifer would speak next would begin the war in heaven. After Lucifer's speech, heaven was no longer the same. Where there had once been harmony, there was now tension. Angels moved through the golden halls of heaven with uncertainty, whispering quietly among themselves. Some followed Lucifer. Others remained loyal to the throne. For the first time since creation, heaven stood divided. Lucifer stood before the thousands of angels who had chosen to follow him. Their wings filled the sky like a storm of light. They believed in him. They believed in his vision of a new heaven. And Lucifer felt stronger than ever. You have chosen wisely, Lucifer said to them. You were not created to kneel forever. His voice carried across the gathering. We will build a kingdom greater than the one that exists now. The rebel angels raised their wings in agreement. The rebellion had become an army. But before the war could begin, someone appeared. A powerful presence moved across the sky. The crowd of angels slowly parted, because they recognized who was approaching. Michael, the guardian of heaven. Michael landed in front of Lucifer. The two archangels faced each other in silence. For ages they had stood side by side. Two of the greatest angels heaven had ever created. Now they stood on opposite sides. Michael looked at the rebel angels behind Lucifer. Then he turned back to the morning star. It is not too late, Michael said. Lucifer smiled faintly. Too late for what? To stop this. Lucifer spread his wings slowly. You still believe heaven cannot change? Michael answered calmly. Heaven does not need to. Lucifer shook his head. That is where you are wrong. Michael stepped closer. You are leading angels into destruction. Lucifer's eyes burned with pride. I am leading them into freedom. The rebel angels watched the two archangels carefully, because this moment could decide everything. Michael spoke again. You are not thinking clearly. Lucifer laughed softly. I have never been more clear. Michael's voice became firmer. You are letting pride control you. Lucifer's smile disappeared. Pride. Yes. Lucifer stepped forward. I was created magnificent. I was given power greater than most angels. Why should that power remain unused? Michael answered without hesitation. Because it was not given for you to rule. The tension between them grew heavy. Lucifer looked into Michael's eyes. You would fight me? Michael did not hesitate. If I must. Lucifer looked across the sky of heaven. Thousands of angels stood behind him. His army. His followers. His future kingdom. Then he turned back toward Michael. Then hear my final words before this war begins. The rebel angels grew silent. Even the loyal angels in the distance listened carefully. Lucifer raised his voice so all of heaven could hear. I will not kneel. His words echoed across eternity. I will not serve forever. I will not live beneath a throne that refuses to change. Michael remained calm, but his expression grew sad, because he knew what would happen next. Lucifer's voice thundered across the sky. If heaven will not give us the future we deserve, his wings spread wide, then we will take it. The rebel angels roared. The sky filled with blazing wings. The war in heaven was about to begin, and the next words Lucifer would speak would become the most famous words in the history of rebellion. The skies of heaven had never been so silent. Thousands of angels hovered across the golden clouds, their wings glowing in the endless light. Some stood beside Michael, loyal to the throne. Others stood behind Lucifer, their eyes filled with belief in the morning star. Two armies now faced each other where once there had been only unity. And in the center stood Lucifer. Lucifer slowly rose into the air so that all angels could see him. The light of heaven reflected from his wings like burning gold. For a moment, he looked exactly as he once had. The most beautiful angel ever created. The morning star. Lucifer looked across the sky, filled with angels. "This is the moment," he said. His voice echoed through heaven itself. "For ages we have served. For ages we have obeyed. For ages we have accepted a throne we were never allowed to question." Some angels looked uncertain. Others stared at him with admiration. Lucifer's voice grew stronger. "But we were not created weak. We were created powerful." He pointed toward the endless universe beyond heaven. "Look at creation. Galaxies without number. Worlds waiting to be shaped." His eyes burned with ambition. "And yet we kneel forever." Michael watched silently. He had heard these arguments before. But he also knew something Lucifer had forgotten. Power does not mean authority. Lucifer continued. "We are the guardians of creation. We are the architects of the stars. We are the ones who move the universe." His voice thundered across the sky. "So why do we remain servants?" The rebel angels began raising their wings. The energy across heaven began to shift. Lucifer had ignited something powerful. Then Lucifer spoke the words that would echo through eternity. The words that would become the final declaration of rebellion. "I will not serve." The moment the words left his lips, the sky itself seemed to tremble. Because no angel had ever spoken such defiance before. Lucifer spread his wings wide. "If heaven refuses to change." His voice grew louder. "Then heaven must be replaced." The rebel angels roared in approval. Their wings lit the sky like a storm of stars. Lucifer had not only declared rebellion, he had declared war. Michael stepped forward. His sword of divine light appeared in his hand. "Lucifer," he said quietly, "you have chosen your path." Lucifer looked at him calmly. "Yes." Michael raised the glowing blade. "Then heaven will defend itself." The loyal angels rose into the sky behind Michael. The rebel angels gathered behind Lucifer. Millions of wings filled the heavens. Light against light. Angel against angel. For the first time in creation, the war in heaven began. Lucifer launched forward first. His power exploded across the battlefield like a burning star. Angels clashed across the sky. Swords of divine light struck like lightning. The heavens trembled under the force of the battle. But even in the chaos, Lucifer's mind remained focused on one enemy. One angel who stood directly in his path. Michael. Because Lucifer knew something the others did not. The war would not be decided by armies. It would be decided by the final battle between them. And before that battle ended, Lucifer would speak his final words. The words he would say just before the fall. The war in heaven spread like a storm across the skies. Angels clashed with unimaginable power. Blades of divine light struck through the clouds like lightning, and shockwaves of celestial energy rolled across the golden fields of heaven. For the first time in creation, angels fought one another. Brother against brother. Light against light. But above all the chaos of the battlefield, two figures rose higher than the rest. Lucifer and Michael, the two greatest angels heaven had ever created. Lucifer moved through the battlefield like a blazing star. Wherever he went, the rebel angels followed with renewed strength. His power was overwhelming. Every strike sent waves of light across the sky. Even the loyal angels struggled to stand against him. But Michael remained calm. He did not rush into battle immediately. Instead, he watched. Because Michael understood something Lucifer did not. Wars are not won by pride. They are won by patience. Eventually, Lucifer noticed him. Michael stood at the center of the battlefield, surrounded by loyal angels. His sword burned with divine light brighter than the sun. Lucifer descended toward him slowly. The fighting around them began to slow. Because every angel understood the truth. The war would be decided here. Lucifer landed before Michael. "You still stand in my way?" Lucifer said. Michael nodded. "Yes." Lucifer's wings flared. "You cannot defeat me." Michael answered quietly. "I do not need to defeat you." Lucifer frowned. "What does that mean?" Michael lifted his sword slightly. "I only need to stop you." Lucifer laughed. "You believe heaven will protect you." Michael answered calmly. "Heaven does not need to protect me." Lucifer stepped forward. "Then why are you so certain?" Michael's voice remained steady. "Because you have already lost." Lucifer's expression hardened. "Lost?" Michael nodded. "Yes." Lucifer spread his wings. "The war has barely begun." Michael shook his head. "No." Michael looked at the rebel angels across the battlefield. "They follow you because they admire you." Lucifer smiled slightly. "And you are jealous." Michael ignored the comment. "They believe you are right." Lucifer's voice grew louder. "Because I am." Michael finally raised his sword. But deep inside, his eyes locked onto Lucifer's. "You know you cannot win." Lucifer's patience snapped. He attacked. A wave of burning celestial energy surged across the battlefield. Michael raised his sword and blocked the strike. The impact exploded like a star. Angels across the sky were thrown back by the shockwave. Lucifer attacked again and again. Each strike carried incredible power. But Michael defended every blow. Calm, precise, unshaken. Lucifer's anger grew. "You cannot defeat me." Michael answered quietly. "I do not need to." Lucifer unleashed his full power. The sky above heaven cracked with blinding light. Michael was thrown backward across the battlefield. For a moment, Lucifer believed he had won. But slowly, Michael rose again. His sword returned to his hand. The divine light around him grew stronger. Lucifer stared in disbelief. "You should have fallen." Michael answered softly. "You are not fighting heaven." Lucifer frowned. "Then who am I fighting?" Michael lifted the sword of divine authority. "You are fighting truth." And in that moment, Lucifer began to realize something terrible. Something he had never considered before. He might lose. The battlefield of heaven burned with light. Millions of angels hovered across the sky, their wings shining like stars in the endless clouds. The clash of celestial swords echoed across creation, and waves of divine energy shook the heavens themselves. But the fighting slowly began to fade, because all eyes turned toward one place, where two archangels stood face to face, Lucifer and Michael. Lucifer hovered in the sky, his wings blazing with unstable light. His once perfect radiance had begun to change, flickering between brilliance and shadow. Across from him stood Michael, calm and unshaken. The guardian of heaven held his sword of divine authority. The blade glowed brighter than any star. Lucifer's voice echoed across the sky. "You cannot stop me." Michael answered quietly. "I already have." Lucifer laughed bitterly. "Look around you." The battlefield stretched across heaven. Angels still fought in the distance. "This war is far from over." Michael shook his head slowly. "No." Lucifer's eyes narrowed. "No." Michael lifted his sword slightly. "You have already lost." Lucifer's anger flared again. "You keep saying that." Michael looked directly into Lucifer's eyes. "You have already lost because you chose pride over truth." Lucifer's wings flared with burning light. "I chose freedom." Michael answered calmly. "You chose yourself." The words struck deeper than any weapon. Lucifer attacked again. A massive wave of celestial fire rushed toward Michael. Michael raised his sword and blocked the strike. The impact exploded across the sky like a dying star. Angels shielded their eyes from the light. Lucifer attacked again. Stronger, faster, desperate. But every strike was stopped. Every attack shattered against Michael's defense. Lucifer began to feel something unfamiliar. Something he had never experienced before. Fear. Not fear of pain. Not fear of battle. But fear that Michael was right. Lucifer looked around the battlefield. The rebel angels were weakening. The loyal angels were pushing forward. The war was turning. And Lucifer knew why. Michael had never doubted. Not once. Lucifer's pride had been his greatest strength. But now it had become his greatest weakness. Lucifer slowly descended toward the ground of heaven. Michael landed across from him. The battlefield around them grew silent. Angels from both sides watched carefully, because they understood something. The war was about to end. Michael stepped forward. "Lucifer." The fallen morning star looked up at him. "You can still stop." For a brief moment, Lucifer hesitated. The light of heaven still surrounded him. The gates of heaven were still open. He could still return. But pride does not surrender easily. Lucifer slowly shook his head. "No." Michael's expression became sorrowful. "Then it ends here." Lucifer smiled coldly. "Yes." Lucifer looked across heaven one final time. The place where he had once been the most admired angel. The place where his voice had once filled the universe with music. The place he had tried to rule. And then he spoke the words that would echo forever. His final words before the fall. "Better to rule in darkness than serve in heaven." The moment the words were spoken, heaven itself responded. The divine authority of the throne filled the sky. Lucifer's wings began to burn with uncontrollable fire. The ground beneath him cracked open. Michael raised his sword. His voice echoed across creation. "Lucifer, morning star." Lucifer looked at him calmly. "Do it." The judgment had already been spoken. The war was over. And Lucifer was about to fall. The sky above heaven burned with divine light. After Lucifer spoke his final words, a deep silence spread across the battlefield. Millions of angels watched from the golden clouds, their wings frozen in the air. No one moved, because everyone understood the truth. The rebellion had ended. Lucifer stood alone before Michael. His once radiant wings flickered with unstable fire. The light that had once made him the morning star was beginning to fade. Yet Lucifer did not kneel. He did not beg. His pride still held him upright. Michael looked at him with sadness. For ages they had stood together, two of heaven's greatest angels. Now only one remained loyal to the throne. Michael spoke quietly. You were the brightest among us. Lucifer smiled faintly. I still am. Michael shook his head. No. The divine presence of God filled the heavens. The entire sky shone brighter than ever before. Even the rebel angels trembled, because the judgment had come. Michael raised his sword of divine authority. Lucifer, morning star. Lucifer looked up calmly. Yes. Michael's voice echoed across eternity. You and those who followed you will remain in heaven no longer. At that moment the ground beneath Lucifer cracked open. Not stone. Reality itself. A massive abyss formed beneath the battlefield. Darkness spread where heaven's light had never touched before. Lucifer felt the pull of the abyss. The power of heaven was casting him out. But even now, he refused to kneel. Lucifer looked at Michael one last time. So this is how it ends. Michael answered softly. It didn't have to. Lucifer looked across heaven. The endless golden skies. The radiant gates. The angels who had once admired him. Everything he had tried to claim as his own. For a moment, a small flicker of regret passed through his eyes. But it vanished quickly. Pride remained stronger. Lucifer spread his wings one last time. Then the abyss pulled him downward. The rebel angels began falling with him. Thousands of burning lights streaked across the sky like dying stars. Lucifer fell faster and faster through the darkness. The light of heaven grew smaller above him. As he fell, the power within him began to change. The golden glow of heaven twisted into something darker, something colder, something filled with anger. By the time Lucifer reached the abyss below, he was no longer the angel he once had been. The morning star had vanished. In his place rose a new name. Satan, the ruler of darkness, the king of hell. Far above, the gates of heaven slowly closed. Michael stood at the edge of the clouds and watched the last trace of Lucifer disappear into the abyss. He did not celebrate. He did not smile. Because the brightest angel heaven had ever known had become its greatest enemy. And from that moment forward, the war between heaven and hell would never truly end. But one thing would always remain true. Lucifer had spoken his last words before the fall. Words that would echo through eternity. Better to rule in darkness than serve in heaven.